Hey everyone! Alright, today we are going to be taking a closer look at our 650 gallon aquarium, of which the star of the show is of course our 34-inch fire eel named Samson. Now you've seen Samson before, if you've watched the channel. We've had a couple videos on him put out, and of course you've seen this tank in those videos. But what we're going to do now is take a really deep dive, close look at this tank. I'm going to talk you through all the fish that we have in it, and then we'll get into things like, how we built the tank, how it's filtered. This won't be a DIY construction tutorial. We're not going to get that detailed, but I will tell you about the materials used, the methodology, and we'll just have some fun with it. And first off, of course, we have our fire eel here. And this guy, this is who the tank was built for. He is one of our favorite fish. He's more of a wet pet than an ornamental fish. We love him, and he's a beast. He's full grown, and he's awesome. But we also have in here some fish like these silver dollars, which are a little skittish right now because the lights just came on recently. We got 8 of these silver dollars in here. And I also love these fish. I mean, there's no fish that I'm not going to say I love. I love pretty much all fish. They're just all so cool. But these silver dollars especially, I think they're so funny. They're so quirky. Look at how they're just kind of lined up right there, staring at us. And they do that all the time, not even when they're skittish, but all the time. Even when they're swimming out and about in the whole tank. Sometimes they'll just stop and form a row right in the middle and stare out. It's so funny. But we have 8 of them in here, and they're a good size. Now, in a 650 gallon aquarium, none of these fish will look as big as they actually are. The aquarium kind of dwarfs them to a degree. But these are actually good sized silver dollars. I've not measured them, but whenever people come over and see them in person, one of the first fish they actually say wow to, well, it's the fire eel. But after that, it's these silver dollars. And everyone always says, I didn't know they got that big. Yeah, silver dollars get to be a pretty big size. And they're so iridescent. Now moving on, another fish I just absolutely love are these bala sharks. And we've got 3 of them in here. There's one right there, one of the smaller ones. I think it's a female. And we got 2 bigger ones that I think are males. They actually spar a decent amount. And those guys are beasts. Those are every bit of 12 inches long. I mean, look at that guy. He's huge. It's like Jaws. Da-dum. Da-da-da-da-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum, da-da-da. And of course, these aren't actually sharks. Bala shark is just a branding initiative, as it were, just a name that sounds cool, so people in pet stores want to buy them. But I love them. I don't think these should be sold to most people. It's a fish that I'm kind of on the fence about. To a degree, I might argue that they shouldn't even be sold in the hobby. But they are, so there's not really much you can do about that. I have them in a 650 gallon aquarium, so it's a pretty good size even for them. But most people cannot properly house bala sharks. All right, there's some more fish in here, but they're hiding right now. So let's talk a little bit about tank specifications. Oh, there go the silver dollars. Yeah, look how iridescent these things are. They're so shiny. I love shiny fish. So shiny. But this tank it's a custom dimension. It's about 9 feet long. It's 4 feet front to back. Actually, it's a little over 4 feet front to back. And it's a bit over 2.5 feet tall. And it holds 650 gallons. Oh, and here's some of the other fish we got coming out of hiding. Unless they go right back in. This is one of our 2 albino giant gourami. And these guys are beasts. This dude is nowhere near full grown. He's still a sub-adult. He's about a foot long, and they'll get up to 2 feet or longer. And the length isn't even the issue with them. It's the height and the girthiness. These are massive fish, to the point where I'm not certain that a 650 is sufficient for two of them. I might have to rehome one of them as time goes on. But yeah, this is a plywood construction with a glass viewing panel. And it's one of our earlier DIY builds, as indicated by the rough finishing. It's not a well-finished aquarium. Some of our more recent builds have been of much higher quality, but hey, it still holds water. It gets the job done. You know, we have some nice rock formations that we picked up. We've got this rock from a local landscaper supply yard. So the rock was dirt cheap. I mean, this much rock, it's still expensive, but they sold it for like 25 cents a pound. And if you go to pet stores, you're paying like $3 or $4 per pound. It's crazy. We formed like a little cave. That's where Samson spends most of his time. There's an entrance there, an entrance back there, and an entrance over here. That's where he spends most of his time. We also have some nice driftwood in here. These are pretty big pieces of manzanita. Sometimes you'll see manzanita and it's more like the twigs. It's like the ends of the branches where the leaves were. It's very fine and very small pieces of wood. These are like the big branches. I like them. Except this piece. This piece is actually like a chunk of a root of spider wood. So it's a little different. Then we also have artificial plants in here, which, you know, obviously live plants look better, but I mean, I'm not about to maintain live plants in a 650-gallon tank. And also, this guy just wouldn't allow it. He just moves everything around. Like these branches could be over here tomorrow. All right. But yeah, so this is a plywood construction, and let's talk more about what that means. So what that means is the shell of the aquarium is made out of plywood. This is plywood right here. This is the wall of the tank. Now, we still brace it with 2x4s or 2x6s, depending on, you know, your structural needs. So it's not just plywood. You still have some thicker pieces for bracing. And the need for this, you know, changes depending on how big the tank is, you know, especially the height. The taller a tank is, the more water pressure you'll have, so the more bracing you'll need. But the shell is just plywood, and it's waterproofed. And we waterproof it with Pond Shield by Pond Armor. And we've used that product for all of our wood tanks, and it's worked out very well. And we also cut out some extra holes here for some side viewing panels. We had some extra glass that I needed to use. So I thought, hey, it'd be cool to have, you know, some windows to the side. And if I could leave you with one recommendation from this video, it's to not ever do that. If you ever make a plywood aquarium, I would not put windows on the sides. And if you do, use black silicone, because that silicone just looks bad. And the glass also creates sort of like a mirroring effect, which I don't like. If you like that, hey, go for it, but I don't like that. Now, for the bracing of the construction, what we did, let's move this, you can see we have a Euro brace all around the side, along with cross bracing. So what that means is, and these are actually 2x6s. So Euro bracing is essentially where you have a brace not running across, but the entire length of the perimeter. And it's done in a lot of acrylic tanks, some glass tanks. It's a pretty effective means of bracing, and it leaves a lot of space open in the middle for you to get in to the tank, and it's still effective. Now, because I want to over-engineer my tanks, I still put in a cross brace. I actually put in 2 cross braces. And they actually probably weren't necessary, but I want to be safe. And for the lid, we just use polycarbonate, because this dude, I've seen them hit the lid. Because fire eels, they tend to, they can be escape artists and jumpers. And I've seen them hit the lid, and if this thing were glass, it would just absolutely shatter. And on that note, you also need to keep wood or some sort of weight on top of your lid. Because when he hits this, even with these wooden blocks on here, I've seen this lid just jump a little bit. And it's very startling, actually. So I like to have, I essentially weigh down the lid with all these pieces of wood. And I use wood because I wanted something that wouldn't, shatter the tank or hurt the fish if it fell in the tank. Like if he hit the lid and then stuff fell in. So I was just trying to be cognizant of that. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about how we filter this tank. Initially I wanted to run it on a sump system, but I ended up running with two FX6s. Fluval FX6 canister filters. And I'm pretty happy with how they've been going so far. I've never had any issues with water quality. The mechanical filtration, it definitely, gives them a run for their money. The water's, not crystal clear like you would like, but it's just, particulates in the water column. It's nothing that will harm the fish. So, if I was to redesign this whole system, I probably would have left enough space in this stand underneath there to put a sump. But as it is, I kind of have to work with what I got. I didn't plan ahead as well as I should have, so all I can do are canister filters. I might try to remedy that in the future. Maybe empty the tank, reinforce this stand in a different way that will allow me to get a decent sized sump underneath there. And this stand is just a bunch of 2x6s strapped together with screws and wood glue. And you have beams across, spaced about every 16 inches on center at a minimum, sometimes more closely than that. Okay. We also have in this tank 7 datnoids. Believe it or not, they're in here. And I love datnoids, but I'm actually thinking about getting rid of them for that very reason that I just never see them. You see some people talk about datnoids and how you have to have a pretty bare tank in order to see them out and about. And that's fine for them. I just don't like bare tanks. So there's really no point for me having these datnoids. I'm looking for one right now and I just can't find it. But there's 7 in here, I promise you. Here's one back here hiding in those rocks. He's darkened up right now to blend in. He's there, you can't really see him on the camera. And building this tank took about 4 kits of pond shield. I think it might have actually been 4.5. 1.5 quart kits. So I had to buy 5 kits. And stuff's not cheap by any means, but it wasn't too bad. Building a tank this size out of plywood and pond shield and a glass viewing panel, you get a 650 gallon aquarium for a third to at most half the cost of buying a glass one. It's a very economical method of getting big tanks. And we actually have plans to soon build the biggest tank in the fish room. It will be the crown jewel tank of our fish room, and it's going to be a 750 gallon tank. And it's going to be for our Madagascar cichlids, which we'll have a video about those coming out pretty soon. It's kind of my new obsession. Now, I don't know if I like 750 as a number, so I might find a way to just round up the size to 800 gallons even. But it'll be about 10 feet long, and it's going to be a great build. It's not coming out tomorrow. These things take time, and we're going to do it in stages. We're going to do it right, where I show you the design process, how to build the stand, how to build the shell, how to waterproof it. We're definitely going to take our time with that build thread, But when all's said and done, I think it'll be very informative and very fun. And it's gonna end with a phenomenal product. And oh man, I just lose myself sometimes watching this guy swim around. But all right, that's enough rambling. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tank deep dive. If you did, let me know. Let me know what other tanks you'd like to see. We also have a 575-gallon Malawian cichlid tank. We have so many 125s with so many cool fish. We have a 200-gallon cube tank that we did a brief video on, but we can do a more detailed review of that. We got a 280 Frontosa acrylic tank. Let me know if you're interested in any of that. But all right, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.